Hey, everybody, it's Reggie with Lawyer Interviews. And today we are talking to Michelle, who is out of Los Angeles. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Doing good, doing good. Well, we're excited to speak to the West Coast a little more and hear all about your practice there in around Los Angeles.
Yes, West Coast is the best coast. Are you on the East Coast?
No, I'm actually one time zone over. I'm Mountain Time, but my little sister practices law over in Orange County, so definitely
Oh,
familiar.
not too far, not too far from me.
Not too far, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you practice, Michelle, and how long you've been practicing.
Of course. So I've been practicing since 2020. I was barred in November 2019. Actually, I got bar results on my birthday. So yes.
Birthday present.
Yes,
If you
exactly.
passed, if you passed.
That's what motivated me to study really hard. I was like, I am not finding out that I failed on my birthday.
That would suck. That would really suck. So, but good on you.
So I have been, practicing since 2020. I opened my own law firm, Nabati Law, during the pandemic, and I've been practicing personal injury, employment law, and sexual misconduct cases since then.
Wow, very cool. So how was it starting your own firm during a pandemic? How was that?
Honestly, looking back, it was the best decision that I could have made because I genuinely had no distractions. I just closed my eyes, plugged my nose, and just jumped right into it. And I didn't have any FOMO. I was at home focusing on how I can make the best law firm ever. And it was just a very, very exciting and creative time. And I had a lot of time to think. So thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're thriving and it's like, now that you say it, maybe I should have started a business during COVID or a law firm. I don't know, because you would have a little bit more free time, I guess.
But of course, I also did have a lot of time to speak with other attorneys, and I had so much help, so much support. And I truly, truly am so thankful that everybody I had questions, anybody that I asked a question embraced me with open arms. So it was the best of times and the worst of times.
True. But it's so neat that you've got your own shop and you're a, female business owner and law firm owner. And so I think it's really fun to have your perspective. Another perspective I'd like to talk to you about is conduct with opposing counsel. You're in litigation or have dealt with opposing counsel. Anyone out there has had that experience of just a jerk on the other side or just that tension? I mean, how do you handle opposing counsel?
It's a very loaded question. No.
It is. How do you handle them?
So I always have a philosophy that you should always lead with kindness. You don't have to be rude to win your case. Both attorneys on both sides were still human. And you just don't need to be a jerk to advocate fiercely on behalf of your client. And I am also a Scorpio, so I'm very, very intense. So sometimes when I have really rude opposing counsels, of course, like I'm human, just like everyone else, I have to sometimes stop myself from reacting. But I have found that anytime I want to, respond to a really, really rude email. Like I had one opposing counsel who would always try to put me down, put me and my work product down because I'm female. I could literally not see him acting the same way towards any other opposing counsel. And because I was so kind to co-defendant, so it was a case where I was representing the plaintiff and there were two co-defendants, and one of the co-defendant counsels was incredibly, incredibly rude to me. But because I maintained composure and I always led with kindness, the the other co-counsel actually sent me a private message on the side and told me, you know, I'm so proud of you, Michelle. You are so tactful and you're so classy. And it really meant so much to me that an opposing counsel recognized that, because the goal is not to be rude to each other. It's just to advocate for our clients. And another situation in an employment case I had was me and opposing counsel, you know, we just got along really well. No point in being rude to one another. And he actually came to me and he was like, you know, Michelle, you've been so kind, so easy to work with. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and see how much you love all of your clients and advocate for them. He himself came to me and was like, I want to go back to my client and ask for them to give you more attorney's fees because you just handled everything so kind. And I just was so shocked. I was like, that's so nice of you.
Never heard of that. Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome.
So anytime my, you know, I want to be really like, I want to react or respond, I just always think to myself, it pays to be kind. You catch more bees with honey, and you should just never be rude.
Yeah, or attorney's fees. You catch more attorney's fees.
You catch more attorney's
right?
fees. Exactly.
That's awesome, though. I can relate so much to that story, though. I mean, actually, both, and like all these situations where, you know, I have lost it with with opposing counsel. I'm usually pretty nice, but I've lost it a few times. I'll admit it. So hey, if you're watching, but I think it's really a good thing to, like you said, you know, you get more, you know, bees, or you know, you get more bees with honey. And when you want to be a jerk, what goes in your mind to, I guess, motivate you to be kind?
So, I always, this sounds really silly, but I always draft an email that I would want to send, but I know I should not send. So I kind of just get it all out and I take a breather and I read it and I'm like, okay, Michelle, what is the point? What is this going to achieve? Literally, what is it going to achieve to be, you know, snarky, cheeky, rude, you know? It's never worked out well. So just take a breather, do another task, come back and rewrite your email and just be kind. And if that doesn't work, I screenshot my email and I send it to my group chat with all my friends. And they're like, Michelle, chill. Like, you're not choosing violence today. This isn't going to help your client.
You're not going to throw hands at opposing counsel. We won't come bail you out. Sorry, girl. That's awesome. Okay, so do you have an album of these mean emails? I mean, come on, be honest. You have an album? I want to see them.
Yes.
Can you send them?
I actually have one email that I can think of that in the moment, I really, really wanted, you know, it was right when I started my law firm and I was dealing with opposing counsel, and I was like, he's really bullying me. I want to feel like I'm advocating for myself and standing up for myself, you know? And so I drafted this email where I was like, you need to, like, you know, you're being rude, you need to stop and whatever. Anyways, I always think about how bad I felt after writing that email and sending it, and how you can achieve the same thing by just being nice or ignoring and just pretending like nothing happened and not reacting.
Right.
So I have that email and I actually refer to it a lot because although I stood up for myself, now that I think of it, I don't necessarily think that I had to tell him, you know, please stop in order for me to feel like I stood up for myself, you know? Right. So right. Yes, I do have an album.
Good. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. But good. I mean, solid advice though. I mean, you know, pulling it up and reading it and going, you know, this is something, it's a good reminder of how to move forward and how I want to treat them and how they should treat me, or a lesson. What advice would you give to law students when they first start working on dealing with opposing counsel out of the gate?
So that's okay. It's not a tough one, but I remember when I first graduated law school, I was like, oh my God, like I was like, so like I had like big eyes, don't be insecure and don't feel like you need to be really, really aggressive to take your place in the legal world. We've all been in the same situation right out of high school. I mean, not high school, sorry, college. I mean, not college, law school.
We go to all of them.
All right. Yes. We've all been in the same situation, and the way that opposing counsel treats you, knowing that you're a new attorney, says a lot more about them than it does about you. When I see a newly graduated and admitted attorney, I always want to do everything that I can to help and support, because at the end of the day, we're all colleagues. So I don't really see any point in, being condescending or anything like that. And to the extent that other opposing counsels are that way, it says a lot more about them than it does about any new attorney's skill level. We all have to start somewhere. So just be confident and be proud of your achievement of becoming a lawyer, and remember who you are and just ignore all the other noise.
Absolutely. And you pick up on something interesting in your story or your scenarios, is that there's this they said, oh, because of your age, have you experienced like that? Did you, when you first started, I know I did, where opposing counsel would like to come to the newest or the younger attorneys because they think they can intimidate them? Did you ever get that experience?
Yes. And I still do, okay. Both because of age and just being female. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I really love when people underestimate me, because as kind as I am, I'll always have a smile on my face, and I'll always let people think that I'll always let people think that I'm stupid or whatever, because when it's my time to shine, I will show them that they are the unwise one for thinking that I was not wise and that my age doesn't mean anything about my experience. So I like when people underestimate me, because they're in for quite a nice surprise when they challenge me.
I'll give you a yes, girl. I totally love it. I agree 1,000%. I love it. I love it. Yeah, underestimate me and I'm going to kick your ass. All right. Well, I'd love to also talk a little bit about law school. Anything you could advise students who are currently about to do these finals? Anything you got to say to them? Tips?
Yeah. So law school is a very, very interesting period of time for a lot of people. I feel like right when I started law school, it's like, oh my God, I walked into a room of like 100 me's. Like we were all so similar, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't know. I know that people think that law school is super hard, super competitive, but my advice, especially during finals season, is there's no point in making such a stressful and difficult time harder by being unnecessarily competitive. At the end of the day, everybody earned their spot there. And if somebody needs extra notes or extra help, always be the one to provide notes, always be the one to give a helping hand. Life goes on after law school. People are always going to remember your kindness more than they remember the law. So I can remember the way people made me feel during law school rather than what subject, or what the black letter law was. So always remember to collaborate, to help, explain things. You're not going to benefit by being competitive or sabotaging people. Just, be kind.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, I may not remember the subject where my computer crashed my 3L year, but I remember that Tom, my classmate, gave me his outline And that is exactly what I remember, is him being like, look, you lost your stuff, here you go. So such good advice. And it should carry on to practice and what you have said earlier with opposing counsel. So I love that advice. I love it. One last question for you, and that is involving social media. You have such a fun Instagram account, and I'd love to know how that's been impactful with your law firm and starting it just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so we're in a social media age, and I kind of feel like, the other day my mom was like, wow, I feel like times have really changed. Like, lawyers didn't really advertise themselves in this way. And I feel like a blessing in disguise with social media is that it's really been able to humanize a lot of lawyers and a lot of law firms. And I am a very strong believer in your personality is what helps you settle your personality is literally what makes you the best attorney and is why your clients want you to represent them and why you get the settlements or verdicts that you're able to get. So why not have a little fun with it? Be yourself on social media, and like attracts like, and you'll attract the clients that are right for you and that you'll be able to tell their story really well because they can see themselves in you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the law is already very stuffy. People already think, oh, you're a lawyer, you must be like this, you're like that. But, I'm not a regular lawyer. I'm a cool lawyer.
I'm like a cool lawyer. Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
As a cool lawyer.
I'm a cool lawyer. Yeah, me too. Very cool. I mean, it's been so fun to watch the field of law really change over the last, even 5 years, I'll throw out, because it is less stuffy and it's so fun seeing real people. And aside from clients, juries, you got to convince a jury of your peers, right? So,
so yeah, that's pretty much my philosophy on social media. And I think that it's also exactly what you're saying. I always think about being in front of a jury and being able to articulate things. So what better practice than explaining the law on my social media, because I'm eventually going to have to explain the law to a jury of my peers.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and, and hopefully we can someday Instagram a trial or something.
I know, right? Can you imagine?
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. Speaking of social media, please throw up your handles so that everyone can find where to follow you.
Yes, on Instagram, I am Nabati Law. I pretty much post all my content on Instagram. I should start a TikTok, but I do have one. It's Nabati Law also, Nabati Law. So that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us. And thanks everybody for watching Lawyer Interviews. Thanks for watching and please subscribe.